we're going to go into some intel. I'm going to cover some bits of what's really going on without going into certain details, but so people get the gist of kind of where we're at. Progress to some has been rather massive, and I do think we tend to overlook that. You know, even in the news items about the pedophiles being arrested and this being stopped and that being stopped. Now, as regards to the trust and what we're doing, it's a case of 2 steps forward and 1 step back. We hit them with certain hammers and they kind of fight back a bit. But it's still a step forward. Now, we've gone down many avenues recently and spoken to many organisations, the big ones. Was after the interrupted show on Thursday, last Thursday, as expected, we had a number of callers. We are making progress with certain big groups, certain big organisations. The issue is the government. They're reluctant to do anything. Now, that doesn't mean that's Trump, but the minions that you speak to are all paralysed with fear. And the same applies in the UN. I'll have more about them shortly. They're allowing certain mercenary and terrorist groups to dictate policy when those particular groups are now completely defunct and bankrupt. So they're given the illusion it's all still going, when the reality is it's not. Now, a lot of gains have been made in certain military circles and also certain agency circles. They're now seeing through a lot of the illusion, but there's still a fear amongst all those groups. See, part of the problem is that there could be 2 people sitting at a desk in Langley, and one of them realises they're on the wrong path, and they don't know whether to say something to the guy or girl sitting next to them, because nobody knows who's on what side anymore. That's the reality. What is prevalent throughout all the agencies and organisations is fear, and what it requires now is maybe 12 or 24 people in the different organisations to stand up and say, this is not working, we have to go a different way. And what they'll probably find is a load of other people will go, I'm glad you said that, I've been thinking that for a while. And that's where we're at now. It won't take much to tip the tide in those groups, which will then push things forward a lot quicker and a lot smoother than recently. Now, as regards to the off-world, that is progressing rather well, but there's still an ongoing threat with the SSP, and a more desperate and panicky threat. They're threatening the military, they're threatening the government, because they think that they own it all now. Another one. And there's been a lot of further blocking attempts with the trust, but they won't always be able to carry on blocking whatever they're doing. Eventually those blocks are worked around and we do it a different way. So there's like a steady erosion of what's going on, where 2 steps forward, 1 step back. We initiate certain hammers and they trying to backlash it, either threatening us or trying to take us out or whatever. But the blocking of certain things being released, whether it's funds, projects or ideas or things to go forward with, they can't carry on blocking all the time. And every time they block something, they weaken themselves. Every time they try to reset a financial system, they're weakening themselves. Because what they're doing now is they're coming out with all the hidden programs, which I think is a good thing, so we can get rid of them all. Because every hidden program they're having to use to stay in the game or to block, or to try to loot out of an old system organisation, which I'll cover shortly, it gets shut down very, very quickly, and they've lost that stick to use going forward. So slowly but surely, on all levels, their attempts at blocking, and that's all they've got left now, is blocking, is weakening them, and also exposing all the secrets that they never thought they'd have to use. So I appreciate there's people who are impatient. There's no one more impatient than Kim. You know, she wants to get things done. I want to get things done because we've both got more important things to focus on going forward, and we can get that out the way. That's phase 1. Then there's phase 2 through phase 489, some of which the funding will help with. But there's an awful lot of aspects that we need to work on, push forward, than just the funding. You know, there's an awful lot of aspects that two of us with the team are doing outside of the funding. But rest assured, Kim's not holding back on anything. Neither are the rest of the team. No one's saying we have to wait until some special blood moon eclipse and solar alignment and all that nonsense before we release the funds. The funds will come out when the funds come out. And once they run out of blocking, it's game over. It only needs $1 to come out and it's game over. But at the moment, they're still throwing up certain blocks, shutting the whole banks down. You know, they blocked at certain levels, and Kim overcome those levels. Then they tried another level, and Kim overcome that. Then he tried another level, shutting down the ports, and Kim overcame that. So now there's another thing going forward, and we'll see what happens then. But eventually they'll run out of avenues. They know it, and we know it. So hope that people get a grasp that there is progress being made on every single level. It's not just the finance that we're involved in. There's a whole heap of other things, and largely it's a slow progress to some, but a massive progress to others who can step back and look at it from an overview. It's a far cry from what we were covering even 2 years ago. You know, the stuff that's coming out and the people that are coming forward with different projects and asking for different types of funding, and then different people wanting to step down and can we help them. It's a full-time job and more.